Hello and welcome to a international roundup. This is taking place on the 5th of November. So the stage that we are at is we're about halfway, just over halfway between tournament play in the Confederations and European Championship Cups for the senior teams. Why doesn't that want to click? There we go. So as we can see, I'll just run through the groups. So we're about halfway through, although some of these groups in the Confederations Cup have finished. Group 1, Australia, Peru, no surprises there. Australia and Peru are quite evenly matched. You can see here the result was 2-1. I would say Peru had more of the play, so Australia a bit lucky there. South Korea are mathematically possible, but they need Paraguay to not lose to Peru. If Peru wins this game, then Australia, Peru go to 9 points. South Korea wins their game, they go to 6, but their goal difference is not nearly as strong as Australia and Peru. South Korea will play Australia in their final game, so we're expecting Australia and Peru to go through. In Group 2, Brazil have pretty much waltzed through their group. They've got 3 from 3 wins. It's going to come down to this Tunisia-El Salvador game, I believe, as to who's going to get second place, because Tunisia, as you can see, have a game in hand on El Salvador. So it'll be quite important. If El Salvador wins that game, then they go through. In Group 3, we had an upset result. It's not shown here. In round 2, Bolivia actually beat Argentina, which is how Argentina has got this one loss. That result puts Bolivia in a pretty good position to go through. They will, however, have to beat Nigeria because Nigeria has got like really strong goal difference. So we expect Bolivia to go through as a result of the Argentina game. I don't think Argentina is in trouble here. They're playing bottom of the table Costa Rica, so that should be a win. That should take them to 9 points. It is possible if Nigeria wins their game against Bolivia, then Bolivia and Nigeria both on 6 points, that one of those teams would eliminate Argentina, who would then be on 9. And obviously they're playing each other, so they can't split the points again. But that's pretty unlikely. So Argentina and Bolivia we expect to go through. In group number 4, we've got the USA pretty safe. MZ country's gonna play the US. So if the US gets any kind of result in this game, then they will be going through pretty safe. Uruguay, they had a disappointing draw against Egypt, but an encouraging draw against the US, which puts them importantly 1 point ahead of Egypt, even if Egypt wins out. So we expect USA and Uruguay to go through. No upsets there. Group 5 is one of the groups that has been decided. We have Chile and Ecuador. Venezuela were the lowest ranked of the big 3 in this group, which I thought of as the group of death. You can see basically Chile winning 2-1 against Ecuador was the difference between them going through. Well, if they'd lost that game, then Venezuela may have gone through. But they both got the job done. We've got China and Kuwait from Group 6 that are the teams to go through. Guatemala, I think, would be a little disappointed with that, but it is what it is. Group 7 is a very interesting one, and we're going to look at one of these games in more detail. So Canada actually managed to upset both Mexico and Colombia. So they beat Mexico, and then Colombia lost to Mexico. And Colombia only got the draw against Canada, which sent Canada through. Had Colombia won, they would have needed to get through on goal difference, and they had a little bit of goal. So if Colombia wins, they go to 4, and then Canada goes to 6. So they would have had to have won by at least 2 goals to go through. But of course, Canada got the draw, so they will be very happy with that, no doubt. So 2 North American teams go through from Group 7, and Colombia will be the biggest casualty from the group stages in the Confederations Cup. And then in Group 8, which is a lot of underdog teams, we have India going through quite comfortably, and we have Panama going through in the second spot. Okay, so we're going to look at 2 games from the Confederations Cup. The first one will be the Argentina-Bolivia game. If we look at how the teams are set up, we can see, so Bolivia playing 5 at the back, which should make them better at covering Argentina's lone winger. So basically, if the wing defender number 10 fails, number 8 should be able to cover, whereas for Argentina, they've used their extra player in the middle of the ground, which means they should dominate more in... No, is it in the middle? No, sorry, they're using their extra player up front. That was my mistake. So when their wing defender is beaten, 26 will have a more difficult time covering Bolivia's number 3 winger. But on the flip side, we expect Argentina to maybe attack a little more down the middle with 77 here. So they should be a bit better in attack than the Bolivians overall. And the other thing to notice is the fact that both teams are there. So we've got opposite wings. So Bolivia is attacking down their right, Argentina is attacking down their right. So the ball is going to ping a lot in this direction. So the team that wins the ball in the middle should theoretically be the victor. And we're just going to play this game in fast forward in its entirety. I haven't actually seen this game yet. So what we expect is, so there the winger was 1-on-1, but he lost out to the Argentinian defender, whereas here we can see a second Bolivian getting a cross quite quickly. So the team that wins the ball in the middle will be favored here, and at the moment that looks like Argentina. So Bolivia gets it out to the wing, and the winger can get more space than he might otherwise do against a 5-man defense. I do like Argentina's formation more, particularly as they went into this game as the favorites, and we can already see their attack with the 2 strikers they're working well together. They're passing and getting the ball forward. There's one area where 5 is quite good against the 4, and that is if your defender runs forward. So here, the wing defender, that wing is quite exposed if the ball is immediately turned over. The ball was not immediately turned over on that occasion, so the wing defender got back to his position. Or the fullback, I should say. And here we've got the fullback. So once again, the fullback runs the ball forward, gets back into position just in time, but then we had a successful pass to the winger. I would suggest that fullback, I mean, we're talking about the Argentinian national team, so all their players will be some of the top players in the world. So we have Bolivia going up the middle there, which I would not expect too many more attacks to come from there, from Bolivia, with the formation that they are playing. Argentina moving the ball well. Final pass didn't quite work, but other than that, that was quite encouraging signs for them. So we can see, so they're getting the lion's share of the play so far. Bolivia breaking down a lot in this final third of the pitch, just not really being able to get the ball there. Dios here is having quite a fine game. Gets the ball in. One of the benefits of having 2 strikers up front is that if a wing defender does get into crossing position, like Dios just did, he has a good target. Whereas if that striker wasn't there, the cross would probably have to be quite shallow, which tends to not score as much. Have a yellow card being picked up. Alright, so Argentina win the ball in the middle of the pitch. So Bolivia at this stage, so they go 1-0 down. They are very much, Argentina has been on top of this entire part of the game. Bolivia begins to lose, so they're changing their formation. Still 5 at the back. Looks like it's going to be 5 at the... It's short passing. I know because I checked before the game. Going to pause the game here. So here we go. So we've got 5 defenders. We've got 2 defensive midfielders, 2 attacking midfielders or support strikers, and 1 striker in the middle who should get a lot of the ball because, as you can see, against a back 4, that 1 solo striker should fill in the hole between the 2 centre-backs. So we will see if this strategy change benefits Bolivia. At least in the initial stages, Argentina still generating some good opportunities. Bolivia, I'm not sure if they've gone... I'm thinking they've gone defensive because their players are dribbling the ball forward. Defensive typically means that your players will not pass as much as they would when they are attacking. So if you think of when a player's got the ball, the percentage likeliness, I say as they turn the ball over, the percentage likeliness that they will dribble or pass. So it might be like 60% dribble, 40% pass for defensive, and offensive attacking, it might be like 60% pass, 40% dribble. That tends to be how I think of that part of the mentality. That is, of course, just my opinion. So we have a bad equalizing for Bolivia, managing to tackle one of the Argentinian defenders. So I imagine that's a goal that they had not designed to happen. So that's more of a luck of a draw kind of goal. Bolivia is slowly working their way back into this game, I would say. They're struggling to tackle the Argentinians, but the Argentinians are just overplaying a little bit too much passing. Passes tend to become more inaccurate as the game goes on. So Badia goes long. The centre-backs are not being drawn too far out of position by the attacking midfielders, which is the main objective of Bolivia here. Although on this occasion, the defensive midfielder and the attacking midfielder both made runs, which drew both centre-backs out of position there, which resulted in the shot, which is really what the Bolivians are trying to do here. That would be their objective with this strategy. Argentina make their subs. It's 1-1. They're keeping the same formation, which means the Argentinian manager, obviously has a lot of faith in that this setup would get the job done. And I don't blame him. So far, they've been doing quite well. The downside to switching, so here we've got the central defenders being dragged up the pitch and Bolivia scoring as a result, making it 2-1. The downside to subbing your 3 attackers is that everyone else on the team, like if a ball doesn't get down there, they're not going to have an impact. And what we're seeing, so there's one of the touches from the new substitutes. Argentina playing the ball backwards a lot. And here versus... So Bolivia made substitutions early, which is good from a... they were losing 1-0, they were against the play, they obviously needed to change tactics. Their starting 11 obviously was not flexible enough to do that, so that's why they made their substitutions. The downside is that their players should be more tired. Well, normally that would be the downside. So as Bolivia scores another goal, once again, so now as the players are getting more, like the centre-backs are not covering as much ground, which is allowing the lone striker too much space, really. for Bolivia, and the Argentinians are sort of paying the price here because their attacking players are just not getting the ball, and those are the ones that there's the fourth goal, that have been substituted on. So the Argentinian substitutes are just not having an impact. And the fact that they haven't chosen to sub on a defender or even a defensive midfielder has meant that Bolivia, the downside should be that their players are more tired. But in attack, at least for Bolivia, that's not really an impact because the Argentinian players have played the entire game. So perhaps not the best. Well, it's hard when it's 1-1 and you have a favorite not substitute all your attackers, because you expect, I mean, like Argentina for large swathes of the game, probably the first 55 minutes or so, were on top. It's just that Bolivia, as the Argentinian defense has gradually got more tired and started to play more at Bolivia's level, it's resulted in Bolivia's strategy playing much better, although there was a good chance for the Argentinians. Bolivia's strategy playing out much better, and the result was 4-1 in that game. Okay, and the second game we're going to look at is Mexico-Canada. So if we look at the formations, first thing, both teams attacking down the same wing, so we expect a relatively open game. Both teams going for a 4-defender, 3... No, sorry. Mexico going for 4 defenders, 3 defensive midfielders, which is very defensive and typically employed by teams that are the underdog. Going into this game, I would have thought Mexico would be the favorite. And also, you've got 23 in behind 25. So 23's role is going to be to pressure the ball, any intercepted crosses as they come out of defense, hopefully get some tackles or intercepts, and then play 25 through on goal. Canada's formation, by contrast, is very attack. So we've got the 4-2 setup. It's quite a deep back four. Mexico playing a high line, so gambling hard that Canada is going to play wing play. Canada doing the opposite, so their line is quite deep, which is typically what I personally would employ against a short passing strategy. If I was coming up against a team that was going to play short passing. We've got 2 defensive midfielders, pretty standard. We've got 2 strikers. Number 9 should be receiving most of the crosses, but he's a bit far back compared to what you would expect, and that's so that they can incorporate number 11 up front as well. And we've got number 10 in behind, similar to Mexico's 23. Probably not going to take any shots himself though. 23 might dribble into the box and shoot. Number 10 probably. Okay, so we're just going to start the game in fast forward and observe what happens. So we've got Mexico, so there's a very long shot from one of the defensive midfielders. Canada going up the middle as well. So not a lot of play on the wings so far. Both defensive central defenders are having good games. That was interesting that the Mexican winger actually cut inside, which would actually imply a short passing tactic. Here's Canada. So this is obviously wings because the player's going straight for the byline. And they're generating their first goal scoring opportunity. Yeah, this is Mexico's playing a short passing. Because their wing is cut in twice. So not lining up as if it's a wing tactic, but playing short passing. Canada lining up for wings and playing wings, and Canada hasn't even got the ball out to their winger yet, and they've scored the first goal. Now we might look at that goal again because it wasn't once. So I believe it starts. Where does Canada take possession? So we've got the goal kick. So the benefit of Canada having so many players forward is that each Mexican defender is marking one of the Canadian attackers, which means that here they didn't even get a tackle attempt on the striker due to the striker's speed. So if the Mexican defenders don't get the intercept straight away, the Canadians are just going to be straight through on goal as a result of having these three attacking players. So I think that's actually why they've lined up the way they have to try to... And the winger is sort of acting as a distraction, which I believe the Mexicans have kind of fallen for here. It's actually the real danger is straight up the middle for Canada, and Mexico on the other hand, Mexico's playing, they've instructed their players to play short passing. So again, Mexico have been a bit deceptive in doing so, but that kind of, I feel like, plays into Canada's hands. Well, actually, the particular short passing setup with one striker in the middle, I think that's probably 50-50. Because the striker is in the middle, so he's going to try and exploit that hole between the two central defenders, as we can see here, ball getting over the back. As one of the central defenders will tend to get sucked up the field to mark the Mexican attacking midfielder, support striker, whatever you want to call them. But Canada, I do like this attack that they've formulated. It's actually quite clever the way that they've thrown off the Mexicans with their formation. The fact that it's still wing play as well. So this game is not nearly as free-flowing as I would have expected looking at the formations, but that's fundamentally as a result of both teams deciding... They've both packed the middle, and both teams only have one winger. So here we have an example of a winger actually getting involved in the play, and that was only because the inside forward, number 11 for Canada, dribbled centrally and dragged the defenders there, leaving the winger open. So certainly, for reference, Canada is ranked, I think, number like around 35, 40 sort of range, and Mexico is borderline top 10. So this has been impressive from the Canadians so far. So we would expect Mexico to win quite comfortably ordinarily, but Canada definitely, I would say, has the tactical advantage. The only disadvantage they have is they're playing so far back that if the ball gets through, they can't make any tackle attempts. So they are a little susceptible. They really have to win the ball in midfield. So here we have Mexico winning it in their attacking third, and if it wasn't for that back pass, Mexico would have been through on goal there. So this is dangerous. Yeah, so we've got one tackle attempt basically on that whole play for Mexico. So Mexico, very dangerous looking. Although I do prefer... So Canada set up, so we've got a player basically on his own in Holman, the striker, going for a run and having a shot on goal and missing. The Mexicans passing the ball around a lot more, which just tends to happen. Yeah, so that chance was again generated by Canada playing the line quite far back, whereas that chance was generated by Mexico playing a high line against the team that's attacking down the middle. And again, we have the same thing. So the ball went to the wing, it was short passed back into the middle. As a result of Mexico playing their high line, Canada got a shot on goal because the striker managed to get all the way through. So it is quite surprising. It's still only 1 goal scored in this game. I'm also wondering if any of these teams have done anything else interesting with their substitution patterns. One thing about Canada having to play 11 who is Jacques so far forward is that the central, so Holman, will tend to pass to Jacques because Jacques is further down the pitch. What? What was going on? Wait. What was that? So again, isolating the striker. The keeper is on another planet, and the striker just misses the target. I think that's a bug of some kind. I think because the keepers are basically programmed to save 90% of the shots. He was programmed to save the shot, but the shot was off target, and the game. I guess the compiler couldn't, or the interpreter couldn't accurately depict what was actually going on in the sim on that occasion. You always have to remember that 3D is just a representation of the sim, and that representation is not 100% accurate. Which is why you tend to see, so at corners you tend to see the same play basically unfold all the time. So we've got the central defenders once again being sucked up the pitch as a result of having the striker and then the attacking midfielder in behind the striker, causing problems for the Canadian defense. If they had their defensive midfielders were positioned further back, they would or they had a central defensive midfielder, they would be able to deal with that. We've got the second goal. So that pretty much secured the game for Canada. Scored by the target striker. He was positioned a little bit further back than normal, so you would expect with the position that he's in shots are more likely to be on target, but shots are more likely to be saved as well. I would say, in my experience at least. Mexico are staying short pass. They could obviously go to wings. They've already got the formation set up for a wing strategy, but they're sticking with short passing. I'm still unsure if they've actually done that deliberately or if they've just made a mistake. We have Jacques getting into the box again. Saving tackle by the Canadian defenders there. So ball out to the wing and the ball crossed along the ground. Another indication that the Mexicans played short passing in this game. So a pretty even game overall. The Canadians, I prefer the Canadian attack to the Mexican attack, but it's not a massive deal. So we can see Canada 1 extra shot. So really, probably a draw is a fair result. But with any result that could have, anytime you expect a draw, it could go one way or the other. In this case, it went to Canada. And that was probably the key game that got them through to the next round of the Confederations Cup. Anyway, that will be it from me. I hope that you tune in. The next video will be the European Championships. We'll look at those games and we will basically summarize the group stages.